The Woman King is directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, and this movie is an alternate story based off true events that happened back in the 1800s, based off the Kingdom of Dahomey. Before I continue with this, there's going to be no spoilers, and there's also kind of a trauma warning in this for any rape victims or domestic violence victims. It does get pretty intense, so I just want to warn you just in case that's a soft subject for you. So the basic gist of this story, which I looked up before watching the movie and actually after watching it as well, the basic thing is the Agojie are an all-female army, which is not just an all-female army, but it is a badass female army designed to just basically dismantle and take down all aspects of government. Knowing that about these female warriors, I was not that surprised to see the badass nature of their fighting, but what did surprise me was how much I absolutely loved this movie. Here's a little brief history based off what I read about the Agojie and the Kingdom of Dahomey back in the 1800s. King Gezo, who was played by Boyega in the movie, King Gezo actually was a firm proponent in selling his own people into slavery to Europeans. Like that's basically in the original story of Dahomey. That's what the king basically did. Like, yes, he formed the Agojie to fight off the Oyo warriors so that, you know, the Kingdom of Dahomey could thrive and prosper. But the Kingdom of Dahomey got their prosperous nature and their wealth and everything and weapons based off the soldiers and villagers that they captured and sold, which is kind of crazy to think about. But if you think about African American history and slave history, that's a lot of our own people did sell their own people because they wanted to survive. And of the gist of what I got from the original history of the Kingdom of Dahomey and the Agojie warriors. Now, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that not the entire nation and not everybody that was involved wanted to sell people. I want to believe that some of these warriors back in the day did fight genuinely for the freedom of their people, but because they lived under such strong commitment and honor, they had to uphold what their king wanted, which their king wanted them to go and destroy people, literally mean destroy people and their body parts and drag them and sell people, you know. And it's kind of sad when you look at the original history of some things and how Hollywood tries to beautify some things. There are those times where that is not that bad of a thing to do, especially with this movie. I feel like it's gonna be split, but I love the movie because, yes, the original history is a lot more brutal and a lot more crazy, but they did take a lot of truth from that and put in this movie. They just kind of deviated a little bit, which is what every single movie does. Of course, you have Viola Davis, who played General Nanisca, and after reading the history, the General Nanisca in the movie and General Nanisca in the actual history are somewhat different. When you see the movie, I'll let you be the judge of that, and you can see how and why. She brought it. She was told what to bring, and then she brought that, and then she brought 10 more of those things. As her performance, my God. Like every movie that Viola Davis is in is beautiful. Her performance is great, but now this movie in particular just hit home a lot more because being of a African American descent, I'm Jamaican and Chinese, but a lot of different people over the years have made jokes and said, "Oh, you're not actually black." I don't know about you, but I look black to me. So anyway, no, it's crazy being a person of color and seeing this movie and certain satisfactory moments. Hearing the applauses from people not of color in the audience. There was a lot more white people in the audience than there were black people in the audience, and Anthony and I were just hearing people cheer and like scream and clap and applaud and just like, you know, get so into it. And it almost brought tears to my eyes, to be honest, because I could not believe that this movie just captured the essence of racial injustice and just the wool over people's eyes over the things that have happened in history, even though we get told about it or we read about it. Being a person of color and sitting in this movie and reading beforehand what actually happened and reading afterwards what actually happened and then watching the movie in between, I love the movie even more. Just painted this picture for you, like, you know that, you know, Hollywood definitely just eases back on things with a lot of different movies. So we all know how things went back in the day, and it's just beautiful to see how they portrayed things. Lashana Lynch, Sheila Atim, and Thuso Mbedu, wow, they are amazing actresses. They did such a flawless job portraying these characters in this movie, and the way how they portrayed their emotions. It's not just about, like, you know, crying or laughing or being angry, but your nonverbals, the nonverbal cues, just the way how these women just portrayed their characters. It was beautiful, and I just got so invested because, again, just watching it as a person of color, you just have so much more appreciation. But just hearing the audience, as I said before, I feel like people who are not of color would appreciate this just as much, just because if you are of that mindset that, yeah, this is wrong and all this other stuff, you're gonna be like, the action was absolutely amazing. Probably one of the best things of the movie. It just shows also great direction in the movie. Such great direction. I don't have many negatives, but just for the sake of this being a review and being an open-minded individual, I will say that one of the main and only things I would have to say is sometimes pacing. This movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes long, but it didn't really need to be. But there was a certain times where the slowness kind of started to take me out of it, but then I also appreciated those times because it was great times for character development, great times for setting the stage for the next scene, great times for like really giving you a great picture of what happened without fully telling you what happened. That's great storytelling. That's great direction. Another thing that I would say is a negative is just some of the accents. At times you could tell we're a little wackadoo, but it's fine because it was probably like 5 seconds that I was like, wait, what? Was that an American accent? Aren't you African? Just, you know, obviously. But, you know, it wasn't that bad. You know, like I said, for the sake of the review and for the sake of criticism, that's why I'm incorporating it, but it really wasn't that bad. Rotten Tomatoes has it as a critic score as 96. Like, that's nuts to me. And before we saw it, that's what I heard. So I was like, okay, well, we'll see. Justified. On the way back, Anthony and I were talking about it, and he made a great point, and we kind of expanded on it a little bit. He said, this is a great Black Power film. And it's not like Black Power. No, it's like Black Power, as in like, yo, we have to rely on each other because that's all we got, and we can't keep hurting each other because how does that make sense? We need to come together to get rid of this slave trade. You know what I'm saying? And that just kind of made the movie for me, because again, it wasn't about that. I think people have a misconception that, yo, they're, you know, yes, it's different than how it was in the original story, but it's not all about being like a happy-go-lucky ending and all this other stuff. Like, go see the movie, and I guarantee you will like it. Yes, it's a little different than what happened in the actual story. But again, phenomenal film. Alright guys, thank you for joining me in this review. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Alright guys, until the next one.